Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about making the story serious and are we going to go there mentality when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons. We're going to talk about this through the lens of the 2024 film, The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. Really fascinating film brought out by Lionsgate. I think there's a lot to explore here on the Dungeons and Dragons side. And today we're just going to talk about one aspect, which is, are you going to tell a narrative that matters, right, with your Dungeons and Dragons? And if you're on this channel, this is what we're here to explore. This is, every other channel will tell you how to get the best build. Every other channel will squawk at you about incredibly minute details of difference in the rules between 2014 and 2024, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to really explore what Dungeons and Dragons is and is not, right? And I think we can see this very clearly through what the 2024 Best Christmas Pageant Ever really dives into, and what's here and what's not. And so I really want to jump in and explore this together. So let's do it. Okay. All right. So I went. So I saw the trailers for this for the last few months, right? And I was like, wait a second, is that Pete Holmes? Is that Judy Greer? Is that Lauren Graham? Right, Hollywood stars. I was like, this is a Christian story, right? This is like a full-on event, not a Catholic story. We're not talking about people who like go to church every now and then or not going to see Jesus later. We're talking about for realsies Christians, right? People who love Jesus Christ, not the Pope. Like, this is a for realsies Protestant, evangelical Christian, center stream, like for realsies Christian movie. Right? Like this is one of our mainstays, right? Like Greta Gerwig right now is working on Narnia. Boy, man, if you wait till that thing gets delivered, like it's gonna be, and it's possible. I liked Barbie. I thought it was interesting, but there are literal evangelical Christian staples, stuff we care about. Like, we care about this stuff. This ain't a one-off. This is like for realsies, right? Like, so the Best Christmas Pageant Ever is an evangelical Christian staple. We know this story. Now, also, just so you're aware, this is evangelical Christian inside baseball. What is the Best Christmas Pageant Ever about? Well, it's about Christians judging other Christians. And it's about judgment within the church, and if the church is actually ready to receive sinners, and who is blocking sinners from actually showing up at our churches. And often it's the people in the pews. It's evangelical Christians themselves. So this is a very inside battle between evangelical Christians talking about other, very judgy, inside, very judgy evangelical Christians, right? And we can be judgy. We can. There's no question about it. Very much, very reality, very, very real, very real. Okay. So I really kind of eye rolled when I saw this. I was like, this is a Hollywood film about a Christian subject. They can't possibly get this right? But they did. It's a 5 out of 5 star movie, and it really does explore the meaning of Christmas and talk about the actual meaning of Christmas, which is the birth of Jesus Christ, right? It's not about tinsel. It's not about your family. It's not about community. It's not about giving. It's literally Jesus Christ being born on this planet to die for your sins as a sucky sinner who needs to be saved from hell. That's what it's about, right? Like, and they get into it. I was shocked. They actually got into it. And it was incredible, right? But this movie had the same problem that your Dungeons and Dragons game has, right? What are we here for? What is the purpose of a Dungeons and Dragons campaign? What is the purpose of each session, right? Who do you believe in? Right? So are you a sucky Christian who believes in Santa Claus and all that crap and wants to make sure that that everything that looks like Christianity is in place, but the real meaning of Christianity isn't even there, right? Now, how does that link to the D&D game? Well, who are you honoring? Are you honoring that ridiculous, that absolutely absurd, ridiculous presentation of Gary Gygax, right? Oh, here's what it's about. It's about rolling some weird-sized dice and writing some numbers on your tax form and then chuckling and drinking some beer and eating some pretzels, right? And we don't even have to go there. We could just say grape soda and pretzels, right? Are you there to chop goblins? That's not what Gary Gygax said. What did he say, right? What did he say? He said, mastering the dungeon and beyond. That was his word. It was printed on every single Dragon magazine, right? Mastering the dungeon and beyond. He built Dungeons and Dragons as a powerful, powerful platform for identity stacking, for manifold sentience, for exploration, interaction, combat. He's like, you cannot sit at this table unchanged. I want libraries stacked in your house. I want growth between everybody at the table. I want real change. No one is allowed to remain unchanged at this table. You will transform through the narrative. You will transform through identity stacking. You will change yourself. You will change everybody at the table, and you will change the world because no one else on this planet can. Right? That's what I'm talking about, right? And so that's my point. What the heck are you doing when you sit down, right? Is your highest goal to, let's have a little chuckle. Yeah, it's all about fun. If everybody's having fun, you're doing it right. The worst, stinkiest, horrible, advice, right? How can you measure that? How can you measure? And if there's even 2 degrees of variation between your players, one person's going to have fun and one person's not. At a table that is honoring Gary Gygax, not everyone can have fun. Some people can be offended. Some people can be bored. Some people can be can be brought to tears, right? Immense sorrow or incredible adulation, right? It's not about fun. It never was. There's something more there. Just like when you look at the Nativity, it's not about, Fisher Price. It's about Jesus Christ as a baby. There's something more there, right? So how do we get there, right? So one, if you're going to get there on Dungeons & Dragons, you have to be listening to me because ain't nobody in the world talking about Dungeons & Dragons the way I do, right? There's a few people who are starting to. Joe Manganiello, right, started to, but he's been smashed. He's cracked as a human. Somebody dropped him. I really feel he has paid a price at this point for supporting Dungeons & Dragons, and I'm not sure he's as enthusiastic as he once was, right? And I will tell you, if you talk about Dungeons & Dragons like a serious thing, there's a price to pay. I paid it, no question. You can see it right here on this channel, right? All right, okay. Where did this show up in the best Christmas pageant ever, right? Well, it literally showed up in the first 2 minutes of the film, right? I was like, okay, what are you going at here, right? You guys going to just roll out some piece, some turd film that is going to be easily forgotten soon, right? Like, what are you doing here, right? You're probably, this is some Hollywood, misunderstanding of evangelical Christianity. Nothing here is going to be about Jesus. Isn't even going to be mentioned. What are we doing here? What is this, right? And so, and this had to go in a couple different directions. I was like, okay, so one, you're just going to make a bunch of platitudes. You're going to make something silly. You're going to make something soft, something with no teeth, right? It's just going to be a declawed cat, batting at people, right? So on the one hand, you could make a movie that's going to make Christians happy, right? Something no one's going to be offended by, right? On the flip side, you could do the Hollywood part, and Jesus is never even mentioned. They didn't do either, right? So one, Jesus is quite literally talked about in the film, so that jumps over the Hollywood hurdle. But the other side was, this is like, most people are going to look at this and they're like, oh, a family film, so there's going to be nothing offensive in here. There's something highly offensive in this movie within the first 2 minutes, right? And this is where I knew it was something different, and where they were going for it. They were going to make a film that mattered. All right, so let's talk about it. What is it? Tobacco use by a child in the first 2 minutes, right? Emma Jean Herdman is in the movie. She plays Mary, and they show her smoke. They don't blur it, right? They show it flat out that like a 12-year-old girl is smoking a cigar. Tobacco use in the film in the first 2 minutes. I was like, what? Wait a second, are you kidding? Right? Like, so first of all, smoking is completely verboten to Hollywood. It only is used to indicate that somebody's a villain, right? The next thing is, if you've noticed, I love to see the warnings at the beginning. They're like strong gore, blood, violence, right? They're like suggestive themes, right? They're nudity, or like just like all the 7 deadly sins, right? Like the worst things that our culture fears. They're like, it's all here. And smoking, right? Like, it is considered one of the most offensive things you can put on screen today, right? They're like, it's highly, highly, highly offensive, right? Disney, go to Disney Plus. There's warnings everywhere. They're like, we're so sorry that we made movies for 70 years where people were smoking in the movie. We're so sorry. Like, there's huge apologies. There's like big giant warnings. There's like it is a big deal, right? This smoking thing is huge. And I will tell you right now, right? People in my own church would be highly offended by this. They would be not highly offended by seeing a child smoke. They would be highly offended by seeing anyone smoke. I couldn't believe it. At one of our gatherings, I could not believe this. I heard a conversation between two young people, right, in elementary school. And the one was like, yeah, so man, I really love the Jurassic Park movies, and I love the Jurassic World movies, and this is my favorite dinosaur. What's your favorite dinosaur? And the other kid said, well, I can't watch the Jurassic Park movies or the Jurassic World movies. Maybe someday, but like my parents aren't gonna let me watch that. And you're like, what? And I guarantee you, those parents would be like, oh no, we can't take our kid to a movie where it shows a child smoking. And I knew that they were going, like, that this movie was going to shoot the gap, that it was going to go right between, right? It was going to offend the Hollywood types by actually talking about Jesus, and it was going to offend the Christian churchgoers by showing a child smoking a cigar in the first 2 minutes of the film, and not a blur, not like, they showed it. I was like, what the heck is happening? Right now, I'm positive it was like CGI generated. I'm sure they didn't have that child actually, doing that. But even the simulation of the act was incredible. It shocked me, right? And so this is the issue, right? And this is where it starts with your Dungeons & Dragons campaign, right? What kind of story are you telling, right? So this means if you're running a for realsies, Gary Gygax Dungeons & Dragons 2024 core rules, D&D now, D&D forever game, a for real one, a real campaign, you cannot start in a tavern, right? You have got to say, we are going to discuss. You need to say it in the narrative, right? You need to think twice before you raise a blade to a creature, right? Do you know why you're killing that thing? Do you know what it stands for in the campaign narrative and in the cultural aspect that is going right to your own behavior, that is asking questions not about your character, but about you. That alignment slot on your character sheet has nothing to do with your character. It's with your player character. It's asking you, and Gary asked this from day one. Are you evil? Are you neutral? Are you good? Who are you? What are you? Right? And this is why this thing has tried to been cut out and destroyed and literally burned physically and digitally twice in 5 decades. There were religious zealots came for Dungeons and Dragons to destroy it in 1993. Atheist zealots came to destroy it in 2023, right? This thing offends everyone. Dungeons and Dragons offends everyone because it's got blades on, it's got a sharp edge on both sides. It will culturally cut you. You will bleed. You will culturally bleed. And that's exactly what 2024, the best Christmas pageant ever is. It cuts the Hollywood types and it cuts the churchgoers. It brings cultural blood, right? This thing is coming for you. It will not leave you unchanged. This movie is fantastic, right? And so is Dungeons and Dragons. These are both vehicles that take narrative in a different direction, in my humble opinion. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. Nothing more, nothing less. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.